The ladder within. A Hermetic meditation on the physical, mental, and spiritual planes. This is a contemplative exploration of the planes of correspondence, the 7 Hermetic principles, and the layered nature of human experience. It is offered for reflection, slow listening, and inner study. This work is spiritual and philosophical in nature. It is not medical or psychological treatment. Before we begin, take a moment to slow down. The ideas that follow do not need to be forced into belief. They can be listened to as symbols, as patterns, as lenses through which life may be read more deeply. This meditation moves through the 3 great planes, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. It also touches the 7 Hermetic principles, not as slogans to memorize, but as keys of interpretation. The aim is not escape from ordinary life. The aim is clearer perception. Life can be read on more than one level. Inner states matter. Patterns repeat. Refinement is possible. Listen slowly. Let the language work as a patterning influence. Let each idea return at its own pace. Chapter 1, Opening Orientation. The model explored here begins with a simple but far-reaching claim: reality is layered, ordered, and alive with pattern. The visible world is not the whole of the story. The hidden world is not separate from the visible one. Instead, life unfolds in bands, in degrees, in planes that interpenetrate each other. When people first hear language like this, they sometimes imagine hard walls between worlds, as though the physical, the mental, and the spiritual are sealed rooms. That is not the spirit of this teaching. The planes are better understood as regions of emphasis. One is denser, one is subtler, one is higher in the sense of interiority and consciousness. Yet each remains related to the others. The point of the model is not escape. The point is clearer perception. If you learn to read life only at the surface, then every event appears isolated. But if you learn to read patterns across levels, then the outer, the inner, and the higher begin to illuminate one another. The practical question is therefore not merely, what are the planes? The practical question is, how should a person live once they begin to sense that body, mind, and spirit are always moving together? Listen for the pattern: the lower is not rejected, the higher is not vague, and the path is not flight from life, but a more ordered participation in it. Chapter 2, The All and the Field of Reality. At the root of the whole framework stands what Hermetic language calls the All. This phrase points toward the ultimate source, the ground within which every distinction appears. It is not one object among others. It is not a thing inside the universe. It is the greater reality in which every plane, every process, every form, and every being exists. Human language cannot fully capture such a reality. The best it can do is gesture. It can say source. It can say living mind. It can say infinite ground. It can say the unknowable basis from which the knowable emerges. Each phrase helps, yet none is complete. What matters for practice is this: if all levels exist within one greater field, then separation is never absolute. Apparent division may be useful for thought, but unity remains the deeper fact. The many arise within the one. Diversity unfolds within a hidden coherence. This changes how a person reads life. Instead of seeing fragments everywhere, one begins to suspect relation. Instead of seeing only chaos, one begins to search for law. Instead of treating consciousness as a strange accident in a dead universe, one entertains the possibility that mind is woven into reality at a fundamental level. That possibility is not meant to flatten mystery. It is meant to deepen responsibility. If reality is meaningful, then attention matters. If life is structured, then pattern can be learned. If mind participates in the fabric of things, then the quality of thought is not trivial. Hold this quietly: all levels exist within one greater life, and every movement takes place inside that larger whole. Chapter 3, The Great Physical Plane. The great physical plane is the plane of embodiment, form, energy, motion, time, space, process, and visible consequence. It is where events become concrete. It is the domain of bodies, weather, systems, seasons, rhythms, and structures that can be observed with the senses. This is often the first level of awareness for most people, because it presses itself upon attention. Hunger is physical. Fatigue is physical. Work, money, shelter, illness, movement, growth, decay, and the ordinary order of the day are all experienced here. The physical is not an illusion to be despised. It is a lawful expression of the whole. The physical plane teaches through consequence. Actions become visible. Cycles repeat. Seeds produce according to their kind. Heat rises. Bodies age. Habits accumulate into results. Cause and effect show themselves with unusual clarity here, and so the physical world becomes a school of sequence. But the physical plane is never merely mechanical in this framework. It is dense, not dead. It is lower by degree, not worthless by nature. Visible effects often point beyond themselves. They can reveal hidden habits of mind, or expose deeper disorder, or symbolize a movement toward integration. To observe the physical plane well is to practice humility. You begin to notice that law is not suspended simply because desire is strong. You notice that the body keeps score. You notice that disorder has a texture. You notice that timing matters. And slowly, outer life stops looking random. When studied in this way, the physical plane becomes readable. Rhythm is seen in sleep and waking, effort and recovery, gain and loss, seasons and tides. Polarity is seen in hot and cold, tension and release, growth and decay. Vibration is seen in movement, pulse, transmission, and change. Law appears not as punishment, but as pattern. Let the visible world teach steadiness. The body, the day, and the world of forms are not enemies of understanding. They are one of its gateways. Chapter 4, The Great Mental Plane. The Great Mental Plane is the plane of thought, image, memory, interpretation, emotion, desire, belief, symbol, and meaning. It is where experience is not only received, but shaped. Two people may live through the same outward event and yet inhabit entirely different inner worlds because the mind is not a passive recorder. It is an active participant. This is why the mental plane matters so much. Much of human destiny is not decided only by outer circumstance, but by the structures of attention through which circumstance is met. What do you notice? What do you repeat inwardly? What do you believe is possible? What do you fear? What story do you place over what has happened? These inner movements become causal. The mental plane includes moods and memories, but it also includes imagination, will, and atmosphere. It includes the collective field of shared assumptions. It includes the symbols through which a culture reads itself. It includes the archetypal patterns that return across eras in different clothing. Because the mental plane is dynamic, it is also the place where transmutation first becomes practical. You may not be able to alter every outer condition at once, but you can begin to alter your relation to it. You can move from panic toward steadiness, from confusion toward clarity, from compulsion toward deliberate response. That shift is not fantasy. It is a change of degree. On this plane, correspondence becomes immediate. Outer disorder may reveal inner fragmentation. Repeated outer conflict may mirror an unexamined inner pattern. Sudden bursts of energy may expose a hidden belief. The point is not to blame the mind for everything. The point is to recognize that inner life has formative power. When a person begins to study the mental plane carefully, they stop treating thoughts as background noise. They begin to ask which thoughts are rehearsals, which are inheritances, which are distortions, and which are guiding principles. They discover that attention can be trained. And with that discovery, dignity returns. The mind is not a side note in life. It is one of the workshops in which life is continually being shaped. Chapter 5, The Great Spiritual Plane. The Great Spiritual Plane is the most subtle and difficult of the three major divisions. It points toward essence, higher identity, illumination, unity, presence, and direct inward knowing. Ordinary language can indicate it, but cannot fully contain it. This plane is often misunderstood because people expect it to behave like an idea. But the spiritual is not merely another concept for the mind to collect. It is closer to a mode of being than to a bundle of definitions. It is sensed in stillness, in conscience, in reverence, in the sudden recognition that one is more than habit, more than appetite, and more than social mask. To say that the spiritual plane is higher is not to say that it floats above life in decorative abstraction. It means that it carries a greater degree of subtlety and a wider quality of awareness. Many oppositions that feel absolute on lower levels begin to soften here. The soul becomes less fascinated by noise. Presence becomes more valuable than performance. The ordinary intellect can point toward this plane, but it does not master it. There is a difference between analyzing silence and entering it. There is a difference between discussing unity and being softened by it. There is a difference between speaking about transcendence and standing, even briefly, in a more spacious interior awareness. That is why many traditions speak of purification, recollection, surrender, contemplation, or awakening. These are not decorative words. They describe a process in which the lower levels become quieter, more transparent, and more aligned with what is higher. The spiritual plane does not ask you to deny the body or crush the mind. It asks you to order them. The lower is meant to serve the higher, and the higher is meant to illumine the lower. Rest in the thought that the highest part of life is not the loudest. It is often the most subtle, the most quiet, and the most whole. Chapter 6, Degrees, Gradation, and the Ladder of Ascent. One of the most important ideas in this whole framework is the idea of degree. Reality is not arranged as a pile of sealed boxes. It unfolds by gradation. Each plane contains lower and higher degrees within itself, and adjacent levels shade into one another. This matters because without gradation there could be no bridge, no refinement, no ascent, and no transmutation. Everything would remain trapped in rigid categories. But if difference is often a matter of degree, then movement becomes possible. Fear can be shifted toward courage. Agitation can be refined toward calm. Confusion can be clarified into understanding. This does not mean that change is instant or easy. It means that change is intelligible. A person is not forced to leap from one extreme to another in a single bound. They can move by increments. They can build steadiness one choice at a time. They can rise in quality long before they rise in spectacle. Gradation also protects the teaching from oversimplification. The physical plane itself contains coarse and refined states. The mental plane contains distorted thought and lucid thought, reactive emotion and composed feeling, fantasy and disciplined imagination. The spiritual plane too has degrees of awakening, sensitivity, and depth. When you begin to think in degrees, moralism becomes less crude and self-observation becomes more exact. Instead of calling yourself simply weak or strong, lost or found, you begin to ask, in what direction am I moving? What quality is increasing? What quality is declining? Where is refinement happening, and where is coarseness ruling the day? The ladder of ascent is therefore not a theatrical climb out of the world. It is a deepening order within the world. It is the slow training by which a person becomes less mechanical, less split, less governed by impulse, and more capable of alignment. Remember this sentence: many differences that seem absolute at first are differences of degree, and therefore can be worked with. Chapter 7, The 7 Keys of Interpretation. The 7 Hermetic principles can be heard as 7 keys, 7 interpretive tools, 7 recurring reminders about how reality may be read. They are not merely slogans to memorize. They are lenses to think with. First is mentalism. This key says that reality is fundamentally rooted in mind, or at least that mind is not accidental to it. For practice, that means attention matters. Thought matters. Inner formation matters. Second is correspondence. This key says that patterns recur across levels. The outer may reflect the inner. The small may reveal the large. The visible may echo the invisible. The wise use this key carefully, avoiding fantasy while still reading for structure. Third is vibration. Everything moves. Everything varies by degree, intensity, speed, tone, and subtlety. This key helps explain how states differ, and why transformation can be understood as a change in quality rather than an absolute break. Fourth is polarity. Opposites are often better understood as degrees on a continuum than as unrelated kinds. Heat and cold, fear and courage, despair and hope may differ profoundly, yet can still be approached as movable states. Fifth is rhythm. Everything swings, returns, pulses, and cycles. Days rise and fall. Moods crest and recede. Societies move through expansions and contractions. To study rhythm is to stop being surprised by recurrence. Sixth is cause and effect. Nothing meaningful happens in a vacuum. Sequences operate on every level. The challenge of this principle is not merely to notice causes, but to become less passive inside them. The aim is to become more of a conscious participant and less of an unconscious reaction. Seventh is gender. At its widest symbolic use, this principle points to complementary generative forces, receptive and projective, containing and expressing, gestating and initiating. It should not be reduced crudely to biology. It names an interplay through which creation takes form. Together these 7 keys create a style of perception. They teach the student to look for relation, degree, cycle, law, complementarity, and the formative power of mind. Take the 7 not as slogans, but as instruments. With repetition, they begin to shape the way events are understood. Chapter 8, The Human Being as a Multi-Planar Being. The human being belongs to all 3 planes at once. The body anchors us in the physical. The mind moves through the mental. Conscience, intuition, and depth awareness open toward the spiritual. Human life is therefore not a single-level affair. It is an intersection. Much confusion comes from trying to explain the whole person from only one level. If you explain everything physically, then meaning disappears. If you explain everything mentally, embodiment is ignored. If you speak of the spiritual while neglecting the condition of the body and mind, the result becomes vague and unstable. A more integrated view recognizes that the lower levels are not meant to be despised, but aligned. The body should be cared for, disciplined, and listened to. The mind should be examined, trained, and clarified. The spiritual sense should be cultivated through sincerity, stillness, and a willingness to be transformed rather than merely entertained. This is why so many practical disciplines matter. Sleep matters. Food matters. Speech matters. Environment matters. Repetition matters. Silence matters. The images you consume matter. The company you keep matters. Each level affects the others. The planes interpenetrate in the theater of a single life. When lower impulses dominate without guidance, conflict intensifies. When higher intention begins to order the lower, harmony becomes possible. That harmony is not perfection. It is a workable integrity. It is the condition in which a person can act with more coherence than before. To become whole, then, is not to become abstract. It is to bring body, mind, and spirit into a more intelligent relation. It is to let the visible life reflect a clearer inward law. You are not only a body, not only a mood, not only an idea of yourself. You are a layered being, and integration is part of your work. Chapter 9, Correspondence in Daily Life. The principle of correspondence becomes most useful when it is handled with restraint. Its purpose is not to turn every event into an exaggerated symbol. Its purpose is to train perception so that pattern can be noticed without becoming superstitious. A day of outer clutter may correspond to a scattered mind. A season of inner heaviness may show itself in neglected routines and dim surroundings. A growing inward steadiness may begin to express itself in cleaner speech, firmer boundaries, and calmer action. These are not iron laws, but living echoes. Nature offers some of the clearest exercises in correspondence. Dawn resembles awakening. Winter resembles withdrawal and gestation. A seed resembles latent potential. Fire resembles transformation. Water resembles adaptation and emotional movement. The point is not to force clever analogies. The point is to let pattern educate perception. In practical life, correspondence can be used as a mirror. Ask what outer result reflects an inner habit. Ask what repeated frustration might be trying to reveal. Ask what quality is being rehearsed by your daily choices. Ask what your environment says about your state of mind. Ask what your state of mind is preparing in your environment. This kind of listening changes behavior slowly but powerfully. You become more observant. You begin to see that no day is entirely flat with meaning. Even ordinary routines can become instructional when they are read at more than one level. And yet balance is essential. Symbolic reading must stay grounded in reality. Bills still need to be paid. Bodies still need rest. Broken systems sometimes need practical repair more than poetic interpretation. Wisdom does not cancel practicality. It dignifies it. Let daily life become readable, but stay sober. The symbol and the concrete belong together. Chapter 10, Closing Passage for Repeated Listening. Reality is layered, but not broken apart. The visible and the invisible belong to one another. The physical teaches consequence. The mental shapes interpretation. The spiritual offers depth, orientation, and inner light. You live within all three. Your body moves in time. Your mind moves through meaning. Your deeper being reaches toward what is higher, steadier, and more whole. Not every change must be dramatic. Movement by degree is real. Calm can be strengthened. Clarity can be trained. Disorder can be reduced. The lower can be ordered without being hated. The higher can be sought without denying ordinary life. The 7 keys remain near at hand. Mind matters. Patterns repeat. Everything moves. Opposites can be shifted by degree. Cycles return. Causes unfold. Generative forces work together. With time, these ideas cease to be foreign. They become habits of perception. So listen again, not to escape the world, but to read it more truly. Listen again, not to become grand, but to become ordered. Listen again, not to collect language, but to refine attention. Listen again until the structure becomes familiar enough that it begins to shape your own. May the body become steadier. May the mind become clearer. May the higher within you become less distant. May your life become more coherent across every plane in which you live. Return to this passage as often as needed. Repetition is one of the ways a framework becomes a lived orientation. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If this meditation helped you see life with more clarity, return to it again. The ladder is not climbed once. It is lived, step by step, through attention, refinement, and practice.